This should be fun.
We ran through a list real quick of the 10 memories we have of things we've really goofed up, and we thought you'd appreciate it.
When we went on this journey, we knew that we would be learning a lot about each other, about how to RV.
I know when we went into it, we were following other families who were already doing this, and one of the great lessons we learned from those who were months or years ahead of us in this endeavor is to learn as you go and don't beat yourself up. I'd say that the one overarching lesson that kind of threads through all these stories is give yourself plenty of time. And we've heard different families express that in different ways, because things will go wrong.
Yes.
And that's okay. And if you've allowed the extra time, you'll work through it together. And every now and then, it's not frustrating as much as it is something to overcome.
Did you see the pause?
Well, there's no doubt that it comes
one time out of 10. It might not be frustrating to where you want to
but it's about turning that moment into something that you can conquer together. And that's easier said than done, no doubt. But we've managed to do it a couple times.
The key for us is to approach all of these mistakes with a little bit of humor, whether you feel like it or not, because you have to remind yourself and each other that this is a laughable moment. And if you can't laugh at yourself, then why are you here? Why are we doing this? It's pretty fun.
These moments can be firecrackers. They can be ignition points. And if we recognize that in each other, then we'll give each other some grace. And that makes solving these challenges so much more fluid and doable when we're approaching each other that way. First up, and kind of a recent memory, these are not in any particular order, was staying at Robeson in Moab, Utah. And we shared this on the channel. I'll put a link to the full episode here. Loved the campground.
It was the best campground.
Yeah, it's one of our top 3 probably since doing this in all of North America. Not that we've been in so many.
Thousands.
Yeah, but just,
a few.
Yeah, delightful on every level. But we were so at home and looking forward to the campfire, and we neglected to grab the keys to the rig at some point when leaving and locked ourselves out.
Well, we also have little fingers that like to play with switches. So note to self, always have a set of keys. Or, as we found out with this rig, there's a little trick to getting inside the rig. If your windows, the passenger side or the driver's side window is not locked, you can actually pull it open and climb in, unlocking the door from the inside. Now, our boys, I will tell you, they've begged us to lock the keys in the rig several times since then.
Just know your rig. Everyone's rig, fifth wheel, travel trailer, motorhome, the windows are different, so there might be other ways to do it. That's how we did it. Some people like to tape a spare key in one of the hidden compartments on their rig, like duct tape it to the undercarriage. You can figure it out.
Whichever bay does not lock, which is
for us, it would be the propane
tank, to duct tape a key in there, hide a key in that compartment somewhere. Great advice.
We had keyless entry on our fifth wheel, but we don't yet on the motorhome.
Yeah.
The next mistake we made was regarding leveling. So our fifth wheel, our first rig, had an automatic leveling system by Lippert on it that we never really got to work right. We had bent jack situations. It was always reading wrong. How much was user error being rookies? How much was understanding soft ground? We loved the leveling system on the motorhomes. Worked great from the beginning. Here's the point. Know your leveling system and then have a backup. Have a level. Get the app, LevelMate Pro, on your phone. Sometimes our kids have gotten out a ball and put it in the middle of the rig to see if it's rolling. Have other mechanisms for getting level, because if you don't, your shower's not going to drain right. Your systems in your rig aren't going to work right. Everything depends on being level. So it is key. If you've got an automatic leveling system, great. If you don't, come up with a plan.
Good luck. Mistake number 3 that we made was underestimating the heat when we were traveling with our brand new rig. It was a little bit painful. Again, we're cream puffs, I get it. But that is something to understand, that the temperature in your rig is only going to be about 20 degrees less than the temperature outside if everything is working correctly. So if you are not very tolerant of the heat, or if you have young kids, have a plan. Don't get stuck in the Mojave Desert when your generator doesn't work.
Our current coach has 2 13.5 amp air conditioners on it. And even today here in Southern California, it was 91. And you can tell inside, it's still comfortable in there, but you just have to know your limits and understand what your rig can do and make your camping decisions based on those limitations.
Because you never know what's going to happen. You never know if you're going to break down, if your campsite is going to have their electric go out, which just happens to some of our friends in 110 degree weather. You know your limitations, know your rig's limitations, and go from there.
Mistake number 4, 3 words: lock your bays. So our first rig had a wonderful outdoor kitchen on our Solitude. Loved it. We really enjoyed it. It had 2 kinds of locks: the twisty kind of lock and the key lock. And we had heard it's important to use the key lock, that the twisty locks.
The twisty locks. Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, right now that's stuck. We knew we were supposed to lock it. So we had a protocol in place. And I was visiting family, showing them our rig.
We had just gotten the rig.
Yeah.
He's driving up, look at our new rig. He drives home with the kitchen bay open.
Well, not quite, but the child in charge said they did the key locks and just did the twisty lock. It was definitely closed when I pulled out, but popped open because we only used the twisty locks. And sure enough, caught a telephone pole. We got lucky. It sheared right off, and the dealership was able to put it back on, and it was functional to the point of a hip up.
That was a painful moment. You spend money on your first rig, and you destroy it the first trip out. It's rough.
It was humiliating, but it was good for me.
Hard lesson. Lock your base. Mistake number 5 we made was not knowing how to properly care for our awning in the first rig.
While we've been in Southern California, our motorhome has a wind sensor on the awning. So it has not gone in once. It's just not part of the climate, not part of the weather here. Ohio, it was in the middle of the night, and it was so windy that it made our awning uneven. And it was difficult, but I got help from someone who had been through that before on the Grand Design Facebook group. Wonderful. It's exactly like they said, getting the 2 sides to be even again. So it didn't rip there, but then in New Hampshire we had another windstorm, and where it attaches to the rig, it started to separate. Both of these were just us leaving the awning out
when we shouldn't have. So just be mindful. Tip number 6 is really the maintenance of all systems of your rig, but in particular your generator. Know exactly the do's and don'ts of how to take care of that and how to keep it running well. We just in a couple of episodes ago talked about how we took the panel off the generator, and it wasn't good for the generator. Hence the worry about the heat in Moab. After speaking with some other individuals that were much more experienced than us, they enlightened us on how to care for our generator for the remainder of the trip. And since then, we've done a fair amount of research to learn a little bit more. So maybe we'll share that in another episode.
So if you take the front panel off of your generator, you might think, like me, that would help it breathe and cool down. And it actually does the opposite, because the way the generator breathes, the airflow is then stopped, and the air coming out of the exhaust of the generator doesn't pass over the key parts that are hot on the generator. Also, if you buy a rig that has a generator, make sure that you have it inspected when you do your walk around, your inspection at the dealership or private sale. Ours, we bought it sight unseen, but our technician told us when we had it serviced, never had an oil change. It clearly never been serviced. So luckily we got to it, did our due diligence, but that could cause problems.
Yeah. How long do they last before service?
It depends on the service, but it's like a car. It depends on the number of hours that you're going to run the generator. That's going to determine how often you change the oil and so forth. But a technician, when you have your service done, is going to help you understand that ratio. So you can't just say it's cut and dry, because people use their generators more. Like, we hardly ever use ours. Mistake number 7 is avoid driving and parking at night.
Please.
We were visiting friends in Connecticut. We arrived at our friend's house at night, narrow driveway, fifth wheel. We're over 60 feet long. And arriving, we did better.
In Connecticut.
Yeah.
We love Connecticut. We love you. But not in a rig. Don't ever go to Connecticut off the highway unless you're visiting the Birchwoods. Then it's worth it.
Thankfully, the bridge was mismarked because we weren't supposed to fit under that thing. Anyway, nighttime. We digress. Narrow driveway. We got in okay, but leaving, it took easily 45 minutes, and I jackknifed the fifth wheel. Any contact between the truck and the fifth wheel is not good.
With a new neighbor, nonetheless, watching us all the way.
We're backing up traffic both ways.
Are you in my grass? That whole trip was like, ah!
So parking at night at a friend's house, leveling at night, getting the jacks down, arriving at parks at night. We've had multiple problems, all centered around not leaving enough travel time, arriving at night, bottoming out, hitting ditches, bending jacks, getting into parking spots. It takes 3 times as much time. This is when you can do some damage.
Leave yourself enough time. You don't want it to be dark. You're going to be in an unfamiliar area. If you have kids, that's a whole other scenario.
Yeah.
And it does take longer to drive a rig than a car. So just know that you're going to need some fluff time to get where you need to go.
Our rule of thumb is 5-hour drive days, avoid rush hour, don't drive at night.
That's it. 8. Water is not your friend.
So we had an outdoor kitchen on our fifth wheel, and that someone had left the water on.
Why are you looking at me?
We were dry camping, and so we're drawing water from our tank. We're not coming from, running from city water to fixtures. And if the generator's off, the water pump's not going to run. There's no water.
But the generator's on, water pump kicks on.
And any fixtures that are left
It's the
on.
great deluge in our rig.
So that we turned the generator on, nothing immediately evident. We were doing a little bit of work cleaning, and all of a sudden here comes water on the floor flooding the RV, and it was coming from the outdoor kitchen. So
water's not your friend.
Mistake number 9, I published a video about our mistakes in Vermont. Where were we? We were in New Jersey, in the middle of an RV claim. Now, our channel runs behind, but our adjuster who is handling our RV claim didn't have that concept down. So really, my bad. Prudence would have said to just keep your mouth shut, Greg, until the situation is done.
But do we ever listen to that?
Voice of prudence.
No, we don't listen to that.
So it gave the wrong impression, basically. That we were not being dishonest in any way, but the facts were out of order with chronology, and then the adjuster looked at it and said, "Oh, but on this date," I was like, "You silly man running a YouTube channel." My mistake. Don't make that mistake. If you don't make any errors, you're not going to have an RV claim, right? So you don't have to worry about it. But if you run a channel, keep it out of there until the claim is done.
which is 2 years.
Yeah. So next mistake, be careful about who you choose for RV insurance.
Get good insurance. You know all the good companies.
We currently have Progressive. Thumbs up. Mistake number 10, watch your weight.
Are you calling me that?
It's time for a diet. We've never had a blowout on a truck or a rig, but we've weighed at cat scales and been over. So we've never had a situation where we were unsafe or had an accident or a blowout or a situation because of weight. We've definitely had moments when we knew we were cutting it close. Everybody I know who I follow and respect, the rule of thumb is you want more than enough truck for towing. It's the same with a motorhome. All motorhomes have a weight limit based on the chassis that the coach has. Don't cut it close.
Especially with 5 kids. You never know when they're going to want to bring home a set of weights, a 50-pound dog, and
Yeah.
an extra couple bikes.
So whether you're truck shopping to tow or you're motorhome shopping, know how much cargo you can fit on. And if you have to guess one way or the other, go big.
Go big or go home. I guess a bonus that I would add, don't take the advice of Handyman Joe next door or at the front desk. Please make sure if you have a question and you're new at this, find a good, reputable fix-it man, handyman, RV expert that shows you exactly what's wrong when you're looking at an issue. Someone who doesn't know how to explain it probably doesn't know how to fix the problem. And that is probably some of the best advice we've gotten.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you for joining us for our top 10 plus a bonus mistakes that we've made.
Yes, and stay tuned, there will be more.
We'd love to hear some of the things you've learned along the way. These are just what we've goofed with. This is how we've learned. But we'd love to hear your stories. So please make a comment in the comments. Don't forget to click the like and the subscribe. If you found this helpful at all, please share it with other people. And we hope you can come back next week and join us again.
Thanks. Bye. You can PM us if you want to know the bad ones.
PMS.
PM.
I think you said PMS. Well, there's always an edge, but it's You okay?
Is that what you call it? There's an edge. Usually in someone's hand.